Okay, आइए। It तो फर्स्ट टॉपिक कहाँ तक हम लोग देखे थे? मोड ऑफ प्रोडक्शन, राइट? मोड ऑफ प्रोडक्शन, मोड ऑफ प्रोडक्शन। इन डाउट कंसेप्ट ऑफ मोड ऑफ प्रोडक्शन, यहाँ तक तो क्लियर है ना? व्हाट इज मीन बाय मोड ऑफ प्रोडक्शन एक्चुअली? Modes of production, the concept of Karl Marx, context of we have to understand for catering the demand of the society or even individual need. Nature have everything, but people cannot direct exploit these nature and natural resources. So now here the people need the modes, the various way, the technique to exploit this nature so that production could be produced, commodity could be produced. That become the mode of production. Now further we discuss mode of productions. There are two dimensions, that is forces of production and the relation of production. यहाँ तक क्लियर है? फोर्सेस ऑफ प्रोडक्शन, रिलेशन ऑफ प्रोडक्शन। नाउ इसमें कंसेप्ट आपका बच गया था कि डिफरेंट डिफरेंट स्टेजेस ऑफ सोसाइटी, व्हाट काइंड ऑफ मोड्स ऑफ प्रोडक्शन वेर देयर। जैसे हम लोग डिस्कस किए थे ना इन हिस्टोरिकल मटेरियलिज्म, itself different stages of history. Primitive stage, or sometimes we call ancient stage of society, then slave stage, feudal stage, capitalist stage, socialism and communism. What Karl Marx talk about modes of production. Here we have to understand modes of production in different stages. Think about primitive stage. Primitive stage, what kind of possible modes of production? Think about primitive society, जो आप लोग हिस्ट्री में पढ़े होइएगा एक्चुअली, फॉर द सर्वाइवल, सेल्फ सस्टेनेंस। तो बाय एक्सप्लॉइटिंग द नेचर, नेचर से पीपल आर एबल टू गेन सच काइंड ऑफ थिंग्स, फूड है ना, फ्रूट्स इन फॉर्म ऑफ फ्रूट्स, एंड समटाइम हंटिंग गैदरिंग कर लेते थे जो इनको जरूरत चाहिए था। तो दैट पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम मोड्स ऑफ प्रोडक्शन वेयर नॉट देयर, rather just in raw form utilizing itself everything material matter which is available in nature. तो वहां पे कोई टेक्निक वे मोड्स ऑफ प्रोडक्शन डेवलप नहीं हुआ था. So we can call primitive stages society the modes of production were null, null, negligible, minimal, zero. जीरो मोड्स ऑफ प्रोडक्शन उस समय नहीं, राइट. नाउ थिंक अबाउट एज सुन एज सोसाइटी टर्न इनटू द डिफरेंट स्टेज फ्रॉम प्रिमिटिव टू slave stage of society. Now here think about the modes of production. Now as soon as society shift from primitive to slave stage, now why there is a shifting of stage of society? Because of the rising of population, consciousness among the population. So this lead to the changes in the pattern of society. Society change. Here we can witness in slave society that is divided into between master and the slave itself. Society divided between master and slave classes. Now think about what kind of modes of production was there during the slave stage. Certainly now are witnessing a rising of agriculture related activity, agrarian activity, exploitation of sometime minerals resources, mining वगैरह भी इस समय शुरू हो गया है ना. So here modes of production starts rising, right? Start rising, modes of production start rising. Now think about next stage, as soon as we are able to enter into the feudal stage. Feudal stage, sometimes we call this stage as a agriculture stage also. Now this stage, division guided by landlord and serf. Landlord and serf. Now think about in this stage what could be the possible mode of production. Again, population keep rising. So catering the demand of the population, the society, member of society, feel there should be high production of the commodity. So now here, at large scale, agrarian related activity, not only agriculture, also cattle rearing, different diversity kind of farming activity starts. Clearing of deforestation and forest clearing for the farming purpose, cultivation purpose. So now here modes of production we can witness in context of large scale. At large scale, modes of production, large scale, high, comparatively high as compared to the slave stage. Now again society turn and it comes to capitalist stage. Now in this stage, modes of production, this stage is divided between have and have not. So this stage become very much complex. जो अपना today society है, present society is a very diverse, very complex, very populous. Population बहुत ज़्यादा है ना, and intellectual भी आजकल बहुत ज़्यादा हो गए. Complexity ज़्यादा है तो intellectuality भी ज़्यादा बढ़ रहा है. Now capitalist stage of society, now what could be the modes of production? Very diverse, very high. Population इतना ज़्यादा हो गया है ना कि अब resources कम पड़ रहा है and demand बहुत ज़्यादा हो रहा है. So the production should be very high. So here modes of production become very high. Very high modes of production, very complex kind of modes of production. Complex modes of production. यहाँ तक तो था simple mode of production, agrarian activity, cattle rearing, agriculture, diverse kind of agriculture farming. यहाँ पे industry based production, not only man made, handmade, जो पहले domestic industry हुआ करते थे, now अब machine based industry come into the existence. Now then is they produce more higher than the earlier, जैसे हम लोग मैनुअली करते थे. Then capitalist stage के बाद आता है आपका communism. After socialism in a revolutionary form, establish a communism form. Extreme form of socialism can be understood in context of communism. Now communism stage, now think about mode of production. Now again society is going to egalitarian, classless. So it means not need of society is not there. Need to hai hi, but society become egalitarian in context of all have equal opportunity over the resources, nature, all are equal in society itself. In context to all thing, everything, dignity, resources, respect, education, so now society become kind of egalitarian, but for self-subsistence there must be a mode of production, must be commodity. So here also we can witness a kind of modes of production remain very high. क्योंकि सोसाइटी का डिमांड तो रहेगा ही, ऐसा नहीं कि डिमांड नहीं रहेगा, बट रहेगा जरूर यहाँ पे. तो हाई और वेरी हाई के कंटेक्स्ट में यहाँ पे हम देख सकते हैं मोड्स ऑफ प्रोडक्शन. तो देखिए कभी कभी एग्जाम में पूछेगा सिंपली मोड्स ऑफ प्रोडक्शन तो पूछता है, अब इतना भी ज़्यादा सिंपल क्वेश्चन नहीं पूछेगा, थोड़ा सा ट्विस्ट तो करेगा. पूछ सकता है कि डिस्कस द कार्ल मार्क्स एक्सप्लेनेशन ऑफ मोड्स ऑफ प्रोडक्शन इन देयर वेरियस स्टेजेस ऑफ हिस्टोरिकल एक्सप्लेनेशन, है ना, कुछ इस तरीके से पूछेगा. या फिर कंपेरिजन करने के लिए पूछ देगा कि कंपेरिजन मोड्स ऑफ प्रोडक्शन फ्रॉम फ्यूडल स्टेज ऑफ सोसाइटी टू द कैपिटलिस्ट स्टेज ऑफ, या इन कंटेम्पररी टू फ्यूडल स्टेज ऑफ सोसाइटी। थोड़ा सा डील कीजिएगा, उसमें डिटेल में बताइएगा व्हाट काइंड ऑफ मोड्स ऑफ प्रोडक्शन, पॉसिबल मोड्स ऑफ प्रोडक्शन, है ना। इस तरीके से एग्जांपल दे देकर, जैसे फ्यूडल स्टेज में, हाँ, एक एग्री, फ्यूडल स्टेज में एग्री, कल्टीवेशन, कैटल रियरिंग, ठीक है। तो इस तरीके से एग्जांपल दे देकर समय हो जाएगा, ये हो जाएगा ना, एग्जांपल दे देकर तो लिखते चलिए, या नोट्स में ऑलरेडी मेंशन्ड है, इसको पढ़िए, है ना, नोट्स में पढ़िए। राइट, modes of production. No, modes of production mainly talked about Karl Marx. No other going to talk about modes of production. Once that hand talks about modes of production and solidity and organic solidity, that we will discuss in detail. And there we will compare modes of production. Karl Marx mode of production and Immanuel Durkheim. Until or unless if we are not able to understand Durkheim, now we can compare here. तो वहाँ पे हम लोग कंपेरिजन करेंगे मोड्स ऑफ प्रोडक्शन में, सोसाइटी कैसा था, व्हाट काइंड ऑफ सोसाइटी, हाउ द हिस्टोरिकल डेवलपमेंट ऑफ सोसाइटी इज टेकिंग प्लेस। तो अभी तक ये देखिए कि मोड्स ऑफ प्रोडक्शन है क्या एक्चुअली, व्हाट इज द कंसेप्ट ऑफ मोड्स ऑफ प्रोडक्शन एंड ईच स्टेजेस ऑफ हिस्ट्री, व्हाट काइंड ऑफ पॉसिबल मोड्स ऑफ प्रोडक्शन वेयर देयर, है ना। एग्जांपल हो जाएगा फ्रेमिंग आपसे। शुड वी गो ऑन फर्दर टॉपिक? फर्स्ट क्लास वी हैव ऑलरेडी डिस्कस्ड, राइट? मोड ऑफ प्रोडक्शन, अच्छा, मोड्स ऑफ प्रोडक्शन कंटेन द टू डायमेंशन, फोर्सेस एंड द फैक्टर ऑफ प्रोडक्शन एंड द रिलेशन ऑफ प्रोडक्शन। उसमें डाउट है क्या? Okay, okay, okay. Now the very good topic we are going to discuss today. चलिए चलते हैं नेक्स्ट टॉपिक पे, क्लास स्ट्रगल। क्लास स्ट्रगल, व्हाट? क्रिटिसिज्म, हाँ, ऊपर के देखिएगा, ऊपर के देखिएगा, समझ में आएगा तो डिस्कस करेंगे, ठीक है। तो कम ऑन द टॉपिक क्लास स्ट्रगल, क्लास स्ट्रगल, राइट। देखिए कहीं कहीं बुक में लिखा रहेगा क्लास स्ट्रगल, क्लास कन्फ्लिक्ट ऑल्सो, कन्फ्लिक्ट और क्लास एंटागोनिज्म। Now you tell me how we can define the class. Class है, how we can define the class? Indirectly, many way we have discussed have class, have not class, landlord class, serf class, have, है ना, capitalist class, bourgeoisie class or worker class, proletariat class, master class, slave class. So actually, what is mean by class? Existing of similarity between right, but no, we have to give an answer in context of Karl Marx style. What is mean by class? What mean by class we can explain in context of, now think about the people's relationship with the resources, the people relation with the factor of production or the forces of production in terms of owning these factor and forces of production. The people relation with owning of the resources, they are going to constitute a one similar kind of the class, the status. We can call them as a ownership class, an ownership class. Similarity is must. So now Karl Marx talk about a group of people community of peoples who constituting a owning of the resources, the factor and the forces of production, they constitute their own class in society, having a similar status. We can call them as a have class or capitalist class. And the another category of people, community of people, a group of people, their relation in context of resources, factor and forces of production, their relation with not owning, they constitute have not class, proletariat class or the worker class. So exactly how we can define the class? Class can be understood in context of any work organization, any economic system. People constitute a similar kind of relation. People constitute a similar kind of relation. They constitute a class. If they constitute a relation in terms of owning of the resources, they become the master and the have class, and they establishing a relation in terms of not owning the resources, natural resources, factor and forces of production, they are going to constitute a worker class, proletariat class or the have not class. So class समझे, class can be understood in context of people constituting a similar kind of relation, है ना? Similar kind of relation, people constituting a group of community, a group constituting a similar kind of relation if their relation is owning of the resources. If their relation is owning of resources, sometime लिखा रहेगा factors of production, फैक्टर या फोर्सेस, हाँ नो पहले क्लास किसको बोलेंगे, देन टाइप्स ऑफ क्लास पे आएंगे. क्लास पीपुल, अ ग्रुप ऑफ कम्युनिटी कंस्टिट्यूट अ सिमिलर काइंड ऑफ रिलेशन, दे हैव देयर ओन क्लास, वन क्लास. नाउ थिंक अबाउट व्हाट कार्ल मार्क्स टॉक अबाउट. इफ सम group of people, community of people constituting a kind of relation, if they are owning the resources, factor and the forces of production of the society, they constitute a ownership class. We can call them as a have class, ownership class, because of their relation in context of ownership of resources. We can call them as a capitalist class, right? Sometimes we call ownership class, capitalist class, have class, bourgeoisie class also, bourgeoisie, bourgeoisie class, right? Now think about, if their relation constituting in context of not owning, and not owning of the resources, not owning of resources, either factor or forces of production, so they are non-ownership, so they remain as a have not, either we can call them as a proletariat, either we can call them as a worker. So what is mean by class? समझे, how we can define the class actually. Class, people constituting a similar kind of relation, a group of people, community constituting similar kind of relation in any economic system, they constitute the class. What Karl Marx talk about, if their relation in context of owning of the resources, factor and forces of production, they become the ownership class, capitalist class, bourgeoisie class or have class, and their relation in context of not owning of these resources, they become the have not proletariat. That is a class. Now we have to understand the context of struggle or conflict. Now class we are able to understand what is class, but now think about why in industrialist society, capitalist society, Karl Marx talk about a struggle, conflict. Conflict क्यों हो रहा है यहाँ पे? Certainly there is a inequality, disparity, exploitation in classes itself, है ना? Exploitation by one class to the other one, right? So this lead to the struggle of situation. देखिए इसको इस तरीके से समझिए डायग्राम के थ्रू, क्या बनाते चलिएगा. Right? We can call them as a have, capitalist, bourgeoisie class, bourgeoisie class. We can call them as a have not, proletariat, और वर्कर क्लास. देखिए कंसेप्ट यहां थोड़ा सा ध्यान से समझिएगा. व्हाई द स्ट्रगल इज गोइंग टू हैपन. स्ट्रगल क्यों होने जा रहा है? स्ट्रगल और कंफ्लिक्ट क्यों होने जा रहा है? For the resources itself, what Karl Marx talk about कि in capitalist society, the society is ruled by the capitalist one, the elite one, a group of community, the people having control over the factor and the forces of production. They are controlling the all aspect of the society. They are controlling the all aspect of the society. What Karl Marx talk about, those who control the basic structure of the society, who control the all superstructure of the society. So what could be the possible base structure? The base structure become the economic structure of the society. Those who control the economic structure of the society, economic position of the society, become well strength economically, able to control and influence the all institution, all superstructure of the society. Right? तो आगे हम लोग देखेंगे just by after this diagram. What Karl Marx talk about कि these category of people, bourgeoisie, capitalist, elite, are in minority community. ये लोग जो है minority में है. Why they are minority? Because they have the consciousness. They have the consciousness. They have the consciousness. Now other category of people, Karl Marx talk about as a proletariat, worker and have not. Now they remain as a worker. Why? Because some of the category of people have low consciousness and the no consciousness. Okay? They never even talk about ki, they don't have even goal in society. They never talks about why some person are controlling the economic factor, economic resources of the society, nature of the society, and why some people are deprived one. Rather they are just thinking about own self-subsistence. इन लोगों को सोसाइटी में क्या बदलाव हो रहे हैं, क्या चेंजेस आ रहे हैं, कुछ लेना देना नहीं है, है ना. क्या हो रहा है, क्या नहीं हो रहा है, कौन आ रहा है, कौन जा रहा है. देखते होइएगा कहीं कहीं इस कैटेगरी के लोग मिल जाएंगे, पार्क वार्क में घूमने जाइएगा ना, ताश खेलते हुए. पूछिएगा क्या कर रहा है, तो आईएएस की तैयारी कर रहे हैं. आईएएस वाईएस बन के क्या करेगा? आईएएस बन के क्या करेगा? 70 साल तुम भी जियोगे, 70 साल हम भी जिएंगे. मजे से जियो, मौज से जियो. So they don't have even consciousness, low consciousness. घर से निकल रहे हैं, रोड पे खड्डा वड्डा है, टूटा हुआ है, फूटा हुआ है, कोई लेना देना नहीं, नो मैटर क्या है नहीं है, बस अपना काम बनता तब जाए। हाँ, so what Karl Marx talk about, these people do not have consciousness even, they lives in false kind of consciousness, false consciousness, and these false consciousness itself generated by the have classes among the community of the have not, so that have classes can take more and more work from these workers. Now, like such kind of idea propagating, false idea, false false kind of consciousness propagated by have classes, like कर्म ही सबसे बड़ा धर्म है, कर्म ही सबसे बड़ा धर्म है, सो काम कीजिए, काम कीजिएगा तभी तो कुछ होगा ना। दीज आर फॉल्स कंसियसनेस, हमेशा झूठ नहीं बोलो, सच बोलो, false consciousness, false consciousness. So now these false consciousness generated by itself have classes, है ना, काम करो, फल की चिंता मत करो, ठीक है। तो हाँ, generated by have classes. Now think about such sometime have classes provide a kind of award and reward also in, जैसे इंडस्ट्री में देखते होइएगा वर्कर लोग काम करते हैं, ज्यादा काम करवाने के लिए समटाइम कुछ रिवॉर्ड देते हैं, बोलते हैं इतना काम हो जाएगा, इतना प्रोडक्शन होगा तो उसको इतना पेमेंट मिलेगा, इतना एक्स्ट्रा पेमेंट, इतना पर कैन अलाउंसेस एक्स्ट्रा मिलेगा। समटाइम दे मोटिवेट आइडियोलॉजिकली ऑल्सो, मैन है, काम करने के लिए आए हैं तो काम करेंगे, वर्क इज एवरीथिंग, राइट, वर्क कर्म ही पूजा है, वर्क इज वर्शिप। So such kind of a false ideology in society propagated by have classes among the have not category, so that these people remain a worker and keep work of these capitalist one, have classes. So these people even themselves are very less consciousness, they don't have even consciousness, they don't even think about why we are in such kind of condition, deprived condition, we don't have basic amenities even. So that's why they remain in false consciousness. Now what further Karl Marx talk about, देखिए सोसाइटी में बहुत सारे प्रोलेटरिएट हैं, now we cannot call them all are in false consciousness, some of have a kind of consciousness, some of category have a kind of consciousness also. Now think about, कुछ लोगों के पास generate हो गया consciousness, है ना, they have the consciousness, so they are able to polarize, इकट्ठा होना शुरू कर देते हैं कि ऐसे ऐसे हो रहा है, they must be changed, such kind of system, problematic idea must be changed, so they start uniting, they start polarizing, पोलराइजेशन यहां से शुरू हो जाता है, तो स्टार्ट पोलराइजिंग, जिसको हिंदी में बोलते हैं ध्रुवीकरण, है ना, इकट्ठा होना, ध्रुव बनाने लगते हैं, है ना। As soon as their realization generate, we are being exploited by the capitalist classes, and capitalists are utilizing us as a labor, as a slave, as a worker, even we don't have control over our own labor. As soon as such kind of consciousness generate inside the brain of this proletariat one, these start polarizing. Further Karl Marx talks about, that is not a new phenomena, for the first time these workers are going to polarize, or the consciousness is going to increase. In past also, like feudal stage, a kind of consciousness was there, कि we are being exploited by the landlord, we are being exploited by the feudal lords, but there were no revolution, only because of there were no polarization happen. But what Karl Marx talk about, in capitalist society, the exploitation will increase so much, the depth between have and have not become very huge, exploitation become very high at large scale. Now this lead to the rise of polarization of situation in society. This lead to the rise of polarization of situation in capitalist stage, and as soon as the polarization occurred, now these people certainly want to change their position. ये सारे के सारे लोग अपने पोजीशन को चेंज करना चाहेंगे, ये नहीं चाहेंगे कि हम वर्कर हैं तो वर्कर ही रहें. Now as soon as these people living in false consciousness, Karl Marx talked them as a class in itself. Class in itself. Why we call class in itself? Because these people living into the false consciousness, early they live into the false consciousness, they don't have even consciousness, we are being exploited. Even some of people have consciousness but they are not polarized, so they remain as the same class, as a worker, as a proletariat one, remain as a have not class. So they constitute class in itself, अपने आप में एक class बनाते हैं. Now as soon as polarization happen, consciousness increase, now they start feeling a sense of deprivation, है ना, in form of socialism idea. Socialism. Now the have not category of people who polarize as soon as their consciousness increase. Now they, as soon as the false consciousness turn into the true consciousness, we are being exploited, we are being controlled by the have classes, so they polarization happen. Now this false consciousness turn into the true consciousness in form of socialism. Ism means idea, and what socialism talks about, देखिएगा आप, सोशलिस्ट पार्टी या कम्युनिस्ट पार्टी ऑफ इंडिया है ना, अपने आप ही, हाँ, इन लोग हमेशा समानता की बात करते हैं, इक्वलिटी की बात करते हैं, पिछड़े वर्ग को लोगों को उठा करके समान बराबर करने की बात करते हैं. तो such kind of true consciousness generate, such kind of true consciousness generate equality, equal opportunity, economically equality itself. It means all form of equality, समानता की बात है ना. जो पिछड़े वर्ग के लोग हैं, now they need also support. So such kind of as soon as a true consciousness generate in form of socialism, now class polarization start beginning, and now as soon as the class polarize, they certainly want to change their position. अब ये नहीं चाहेंगे कि हम भी रिमेन एज ए वर्कर, वर्कर तो हम भी बन के रहना नहीं है. दे वांट टू चेंज देयर पोजीशन, सो दे स्टार्ट डूइंग कन्फ्लिक्ट, स्ट्रगल विद द हैव क्लासेस, छीनना शुरू कर देते हैं रिसोर्सेस. बोलते हैं कि नहीं, पीपल बॉर्न इन नेचर, सो ऑल शुड हैव इक्वल राइट ओवर द नेचर, इक्वल राइट ओवर द फैक्टर एंड द फोर्सेस ऑफ प्रोडक्शन एज सुन एज द कंसिस्टेंस इंक्रीज. So in form of socialism. Now think about, some of are able to change their position. Polarized group change their position. Some of the proletariat worker change their position. Now they become the part of that elite group. That elite group, have class group. Now what Karl Marx talk as a class for itself. इनको बोलते हैं class for itself. Class for itself. As soon as people false consciousness turn into the true consciousness, polarization happen, they are able to change their position, then they constitute their own class. अपने आप में एक क्लास बना लेते हैं. That is a class for itself. In terms of owning the resources, factor and the forces of production. देखिए, इस प्रोसेस को बोलते हैं बुर्जुआइजेशन प्रोसेस. तो प्रोलेटरिएट जो है अपना पोजीशन चेंज कर रहे हैं. प्रोलेटरिएट बिकमिंग बुर्जोजी, नाउ इसको बोलते हैं बुर्जुआइजेशन प्रोसेस. मिटा दें सबको. हाँ, हाँ, इस प्रोसेस को बोलते हैं बुर्जुआइजेशन प्रोसेस, polarization process, right? Now think about, as soon as these polarized group able to change their position, become a class in itself, they have able to control over the modes of production, factor of production, forces of production. Now think about some of category of people, now they are unable to control themselves, their position as a have, they again fall back, again they join their own earlier group, right? देखिए, although Karl Marx talks about the middle class, लेकिन इनके पास तो कंससनेस है, एक बार पावर एंजॉय कर चुके हैं, सोसाइटी में पावर एंजॉय कर चुके हैं, हायर लेडर पे रह चुके हैं, बट नाउ उनके पास अब पावर नहीं है, somehow unable to control the good position in society, again they fall back, become the middleman. लेकिन उसको तो लेबर तो बोल नहीं सकते, ये पावर एंजॉय कर चुका है, once become a capitalist one. So what always Max Weber criticized Karl Marx, that in their explanation Karl Marx ignored the middle class, है ना, जिसको हम लोग बोलते हैं पिटी कैपिटलिस्ट, और पिटी बुर्जुआ क्लासेस या मिडिल क्लासेस, इसी को बोलते हैं मिडिल क्लासेस, इनका जान पहचान अब ऊपर भी है, नीचे तो है ही, ठीक है. बट कार्ल मार्क्स talks about only talks about two classes, है ना, that is only have class and have not class. Middle class we have to understand in context of criticism, है ना. Max Weber criticism, petty capitalist or middle class we have to understand in context of criticism of Max Weber. So now again I am going to explain this diagram why class struggle is going to happen. Now society, the nature is ruled by have classes, the capitalist one. The capitalist being a powerful in the society, they are going to control almost all aspect of the society. They are going to control all aspect of the society. Wait 1 minute. So they have a good command over the society. They are controlling the economic structure of society. What Karl Marx talks about, once they control the economic structure, they control the base structure of the society, the superstructure of the society. ठीक है, इस तरीके से समझिए बेस स्ट्रक्चर एंड इकोनॉमिक स्ट्रक्चर का कंटेक्स्ट. What Karl Marx talks about, once they control the base structure, and that base structure is nothing but economic structure. Once they control the economic structure, they control the modes of production of society. It means the whole society come under the grip of the capitalist. सारे के सारे controlled by have capitalist. Capitalist has good grip over the economic structure of society. Now think about the other superstructure part. Now superstructure become nothing but itself our culture, norms. Now जितने भी आपके सोशल इंस्टीट्यूशन हो गए, social institution like religion, family, polity, economy, right? Economy, समझ रहे कि नहीं? Education, etc, जितने भी एस्पेक्ट ऑफ सोसाइटी है, सोशल स्ट्रक्चर है, दैट बिकम द पार्ट ऑफ सुपर स्ट्रक्चर. एंड नाउ द बेस स्ट्रक्चर बिकम बेसिकली द इकोनॉमिक स्ट्रक्चर, economic position of the society, the resources of the society, that is controlled by the capitalist one. Those who control these position, automatically they are going to control these superstructure part, right? So that Karl Marx talk about in context of class struggle. Once the capitalist having good command over the base structure, they are able to control the whole society. So they start exploiting. So in capitalist stage, the level of exploitation increased too much. The capitalist stage, the depth between have and have not create too much, and now this will lead a huge revolution, a kind of revolution to change this form of society from capitalist to the communism stage. Now in this stage, now these proletariat category living into the false consciousness. So we can call them as a class in itself. And as soon as their consciousness turn into the true consciousness, their false consciousness turn into the true consciousness, they start polarizing. And what could be the true consciousness? In form of socialism. And ism is an idea. What kind of idea? We also should have opportunity over the base structure of the society, economic structure of the society, nature of the society, equal opportunity, almost all field, equality. So such kind of consciousness generate, that become a kind of true consciousness. And as soon as the true consciousness generate, people are able to change their position after the revolution. And revolution will happen in context of socialism, and able to change their position. Now they become the have. Karl Marx called them as a class for itself. Now think about again some of category of people unable to control this position, remain as a have. So they fall back. इस process को बोलते हैं proletariation process. Proletariation, Proletariation. वर्ड देख लीजिएगा, ठीक है. Proletariation process दिख रहा है अब? ये फिर से राइटिंग थोड़ा गड़बड़ है. इलेक्ट्रॉनिक बोर्ड का एक्सपीरियंस है तो थोड़ा सा कच्चा एक्सपीरियंस है इसमें. ठीक है. प्रोलेटराइजेशन, PROLETRATIZATION, ठीक है. प्रोलेटराइजेशन, PROLETRAT देख लीजिएगा, ठीक है. प्रोलेटराइजेशन प्रोसेस. So again they fall back, है ना. But Max Weber criticized as a Karl Marx never talks about the middle class or the petty capitalist class, but Karl Marx only talks about two class, have and have not, right? So that is a picture of class conflict. Now the question is arising, why people do conflict? Only because of people realization in form of true consciousness we are being exploited by the have classes, and this lead to the changes in their position, and now so that people start doing conflict, struggle, that become the class conflict. Concept समझे, what is mean by class struggle or class conflict? Should we go forward further? विदाउट हो तो बोलिए, पार्टिसिपेट कीजिए. नीरज, इसको लिखना भी है. ना तो क्लियर. Now you tell me the picture about class struggle. Then I will understand myself कि हाँ कुछ समझे. बताइए तो. What is mean by class struggle? बताइए. Now you think you are my teacher, I am your student. Now you teach me. Be bindas. Be bindas, live bindas. Now just see that diagram and explain me what is class struggle. Yes. Okay. Hmm. Wait. Wait. Here one more thing we have to discuss. Now, what is mean by class struggle, class conflict? We are able to understand the concept of class conflict and class struggle. Now, what Karl Marx further talk about itself in their historical explanation, society, at each stage of society, there is a struggle, there is a conflict, often to change their position. At each stages, conflict, historical, EXPLA, historical explanation of class conflict or struggle. जस्ट समझने की कोशिश कीजिए हिस्टोरिकल एक्सप्लेनेशन ऑफ क्लास conflict or class struggle. Yeah. Now, what Karl Marx further talks about कि history, the struggle and conflict is not a phenomena of only capitalist society. Rather, we can witness itself in historical development. There is a conflict between master and slave. Slave never want to be remain a slave. वहां पे भी तो पोलराइजेशन होगा. बट पोलराइजेशन वी आर नॉट हैपन एट लार्ज स्केल. ना एक दो आदमी मिलकर सोसाइटी में चेंज ला सकते हैं क्या? So they have a true kind of consciousness, but they remain as a slave. Now same way in feudalistic stage of society, again some multiple people, some category of people, very small number of people having consciousness, but क्या वो सोसाइटी को चेंज ला सकते हैं, रिवोल्यूशन कर सकते हैं? लैंड हमको भी चाहिए, बिकम ए फ्यूडल लॉर्ड. तो सब वहां पे भी कंफ्लिक्ट था, बट रीजन अनसक्सेसफुल काइंड ऑफ स्ट्रगल एंड कंफ्लिक्ट विच never lead to changes itself the structure of society. Even now think about a capitalist stage or current stage hai. Now most of people belongs from the middle class, middle category, all have a consciousness. sabhi ke paas consciousness hai na, all are well educated one. आप 7 से 8 बजे के समय, 8 बजे, हाँ 8 से 9 बजे के आप चले जाइए मेट्रो के गेट पे, बैग खड़े रहिएगा, देखिएगा बैग लेकर बढ़िया शर्ट पैंट पहन के लोग आएंगे, मेट्रो जाते हैं, कहाँ जाते हैं? सर्विस करने, है ना, वर्क करने, जॉब करने. सो नाउ दे आर लिटरेट वन, मिडिल मैन, उनको भी रिवोल्यूशन की कोई जरूरत नहीं है, अच्छा खासा सैलरी मिल जा रहा है, घर में बैठे हुए हैं, मजे से रह रहे हैं, बाल बच्चा सबके लिए बहुत कुछ है, फैमिली भी चल रहा है, घर बार भी परचेज करनी है, क्या टेंशन है रिवोल्यूशन करने का? कैपिटलिस्ट आर प्रोवाइडिंग सच ए गुड अमाउंट यूज मनी, तो कोई तो जरूरत ही नहीं. सो व्हाट कार्ल मार्क्स टॉक अबाउट, इन हिस्ट्री इटसेल्फ देयर वेयर ए स्ट्रगल, बट यू नो द पोलराइजेशन वेयर नॉट ऑकर्ड. इवन देयर, this is a kind of prediction of Karl Marx. In capitalist stage, such kind of exploitation level will increase. So now there is yet to come such kind of large revolution. But that is again a criticism of Karl Marx. जैसे रोबोटसन बोलता है कि कार्ल मार्क्स एक्सप्लेनेशन ऑफ हिस्टोरिकल मटेरियलिज्म और क्लास कन्फ्लिक्ट इटसेल्फ seems like a history, a story, historical story only because of he just said, but ऐसा भी हुआ नहीं है a kind of revolution, because you know in contemporary current society capitalists are also evolving in such a way they are not providing opportunity to labor to go against them. They are not providing a kind of opportunity कि नहीं वो हमारे अगेंस्ट में रिवोल्यूशन करें, only because of दे प्रोवाइडिंग द गुड अमाउंट ऑफ पर्क एंड अलाउंसेस। देखिए इसका एग्जांपल चाइना के कंटेक्स्ट में देख लीजिए। चाइना अपने आप को कमिट करता है ना कम्युनिस्ट स्टेट है ना, कम्युनिस्ट स्टेट ऑफ सोसाइटी। बट चाइनीज सोसाइटी में ऐसा नहीं कि वहाँ कैपिटलिस्ट नहीं है, बहुत सारे कैपिटलिस्ट हैं, वर्कर भी है, सबसे चीप लेबर तो वहीं पे मिलता है। बट नाउ चाइना, no, they're capitalist providing us so much perk and allowances to the labor. There is no need to go against the capitalist. And even in our society, जितने भी बड़े बड़े कंपनी हैं, है ना, देखते होइएगा जितने भी वहां पे काम करते हैं, क्लर्क, मैनेजर, वर्कर, है ना, उनको रहने के लिए फैसिलिटी है, बच्चे के लिए एजुकेशन, राइट। Right, right, right. So capitalists are also changing their tactics. Capitalists are also changing their tactics, and so that they remain as a capitalist, remain having good position, being a light in society, and at the same time the proletariat one thinking our need is also one and another way going to fulfill. So why there is a need of revolution? Polarization की तो कोई जरूरत ही नहीं है। So that is a criticism जो अगेन हम लोग डिस्कस करेंगे। तो ये दैट इज अ हिस्टोरिकल एक्सप्लेनेशन। अगर पास्ट पीछे के हिस्ट्री के हम देखते हैं, प्रिमिटिव स्टेज, स्लेव स्टेज, फ्यूडल स्टेज, देयर वेर अ कन्फ्लिक्ट, देयर वेर अ काइंड ऑफ कन्फ्लिक्ट स्ट्रगल ऑल्सो, but conflict and struggle not happen at large level because of the lacking of polarization among the member of society, among the worker community. Now in capitalist stage, Karl Marx talk about the struggle phase is yet to come, when on that day the degree of exploitation will increase and the whole society will face a kind of huge trouble. The whole society will revolutionize and the big revolution will occur. Whole society will a kind of true consciousness generate and the big revolution will occur, and this lead to the complete changes in the new stage of society, new form of society, that is a communism phase. Communism stage of society, their society become egalitarian. Now all have control over the economic, the base structure of the society, economics position of the society. All would have equal opportunity, equal control over the modes of production. So society would be classless, and उसके बाद कोई conflict ही नहीं होगा, and further उसके बाद different stages का development भी नहीं होगा society. कार्ल मार्क्स बोलते हैं now after communism stage society will become a stagnant. उसके बाद further develop नहीं होने जा रहा है society. Now because society will become egalitarian one. सब मजे से रहेंगे, सभी के पास सब कुछ हो. Now clear one. जय हिंद, जय भारत. कुछ डाउट हो तो बोलिए. Should we wind up session here? Okay, thank you. ऑफ कर दीजिए. हाँ.